يا من هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر الخالق البارئ المصور الغفار.
In the Raw. RK's Guyana from Media. And I'm your friend and your host, your brother Hajji, Dr. Roshan can. Now, if you notice, this is not a typical dynamic way of introducing In the Raw, because it has to do with the continued genocide and massacre of Palestinian people, the children, the mass murder of people in the West Bank by Zionists armed to the teeth in the West Bank, and also joining the IDF and blocking food aid into Gaza and into Palestine, and stealing of animals and lands and burning up the people's fields. People of hate known as Zionists. They have nothing to do with Judaism. The Jews don't like them themselves. The Jews are a people that I personally respect, appreciate, and love very much. They were a great nation and a great people. They had lost many times favors with the Lord. They were expelled. They were allowed to humble themselves. But yet they were an outstandingly great people, a people of inventiveness, a people of scholarship, a people of leadership. So yours truly, I am not a hater of Israel. I'm a disrespecter of the genocide and the murder and the constant destruction of the original peoples that lived in Palestine, and about 2/3 or 60 or 70% of which was given to the Jewish people. And there were always Jewish people in Palestine, in which the Palestinian called Arabs, but they were not Arabs, and the Jews, they always lived as brothers. They always survived. When the World War II took place, they took in 40,000 in Palestine. America refused them. That's a fact of life. I'm an American lover. I have interest in America. The British refused them. Canada refused them, turned the boats back. But they were happy when they were being sent to Palestine. But they didn't want them in their countries. So they obviously have a reason why they didn't want the right away. Palestine accepted 40,000 according to my readings. I wasn't there. And that was in before 1948, when the genocide of the Jews were taking place. The horrific genocide of the Jews was taking place in Germany. Today, Germany is playing as if they are a friend, and of how they love Israel and how they love Jews amazingly after all that they had done to the Jews. And the sad thing today is Israel has learned all the techniques of Hitler, all the techniques, and they're using it on the people of Palestine. They're making magnificent weapons of war, practicing the weapons of war, their drones, through the heavy massacre and genocide, and with the gifts they get from my tax dollars and your tax dollars in the United States of America, and they continue to bombard, murder, and kill. And it's been so huge, but yet still, guys like Hanaya Naftali, a propagandist. I don't hate him. He loves his country. He loves his peoples. So do I. So do you. But he's obviously a financed, high-paid propagandist, and somehow or the other try to justify everything that happens. And Hanaya Naftali takes reasoning out of his heart, and sometimes fake, from what I'm looking at him, fakes as a mouthpiece just to get his fees, his money, his earnings. that he is for a two-state solution. But they want a two-state solution where the people have no say, where they will accept enslavement and beating, stealing of men, women, and children. Many women, is alleged, have been raped to death, many with hot rods pushed into their anal parts. It is said and alleged, I was not there, I don't know, but we know many times people just die in their interrogation. And they would experiment on children, just as Hitler had done. I know Hitler had done some terrible, terrible things to the Jewish peoples. Experimented on their bodies, murdered them, massacred them, killed their children while they were putting them in holes and shooting them. Basically what the IDF has been doing. Take over schools and hospitals, murdered hundreds upon hundreds, and bury them many a time alive. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very disappointed that a country like Israel would commit things like this, not knowing whatever you do, you have to pay. Me too. Everyone, Hamas too. Whatever they do that is wrong, they have to pay. But we must remember, any people who is kept in degradation, any people who is kept in destruction, any people who are not allowed to have an airport or to travel or to have any form of freedom, and if the things were set in a way for them to get independence, and then you have a benevolent, positive Israeli prime minister who believes in that and wants to work with it. One of the great men was Ehud Barak. I hope if everything went through, he would have lived. Because Yitzhak Rabin, the prime minister and partner of Yasser Arafat, was killed by a Jewish fanatic. Was killed, and it is said and alleged that the rigor of it all, the excitement of it all, was fueled by Netanyahu. That is what it is said or alleged. I believe in peace. I believe in goodwill. I believe in love. Unlike you, Brother Naftali, I see a few things about you and I think you have some good in you. But the earnings and maybe the passion in your heart, cause you to say and do things that is inimical to humanity and to justice. And somehow or the other you will justify everything that happens. It is the international law. If you have a terrorist or a few terrorists in a school, you cannot kill all the children. It is international law. If you're in a hospital and you have patients and so on, and you believe that there are terrorists or Hamas people that you call terrorists, and some refer to IDF as the worst terrorists, as the Shin Bet as the worst terrorists, and we see the Shin Bet disagreeing, and even some people in the Mossad and Israeli military high command, even their spokesman disagreeing with the Netanyahu, who it is alleged wants to stay in power through all of this. You cannot browbeat and destroy a nation, steal their lands on a constant basis, corner them in a place, and in a corner, you want to steal their land, you want to steal their waters, you want to control their water, you want to control their electricity, and every time something happens, and of course when such things happen, there will be freedom fighters. And then if the Israeli government, led by Netanyahu, is financing $100 million to Hamas, why, we read it, we see it, that he doesn't want the Palestinian Authority to be able to have the power to have a two-state solution. So he financed them to create trouble for the Palestinian Authority so that you cannot have a positive, good Palestinian Authority. Sometimes he will talk about Naftali and others who speak about corruption in the Palestinian Authority. Tell me which country doesn't have some corruption, from France to Germany to Russia to Arabia to Israel. How many times your prime minister was not accused of corruption and even facing charges along, I think it is alleged, with his wife. How many times others were not forced and then have forced even sexual relations by the leadership, some leadership of Israel. This is the reality. What about America? What about Clinton and the women and the escapades and so on? So this is some of the reality, ladies and gentlemen. It is alleged that the former president who was assassinated had so much relationships, including with Marilyn Monroe. I'm trying to show you that corruption and deceit and so on, Naftali and others who are listening to me, that these things happen in life. I truly believe in a two-state solution. I truly believe in everybody given the chance. Right? And just as you have fanatics, which is comprising of some in what appears to be the Hamas, and some who might be genuine freedom fighters, in Israel you have fanatics. You have Ben Gvir. He wants to kill all the prisoners. He probably wants the body parts. Israel has the biggest skin bank. Where they get the skins from? When Jews die, they give away their skins to bury without skin. They have been taking it off the prisoners. They've been taking their body organs. They've been financing. They've been selling. They're taking children, and children are disappearing, and you can't hear about them anymore. You can't see them anymore because they're allowed to disappear, and their body organs are given to, it is alleged, I've read a lot on that, to sick people and sick children in Israel, and also sold like drones around the world. These are sad things. And I really hope, and I pray on the Bible. I pray on the Holy and the glorious Quran. For peace and goodwill to prevail. I pray in the Ramayana to ask for peace and goodwill to prevail in the world and the universe. The whole world. And many of the world's problems are happening because of what is happening to the Palestinians by Israel. I tell you what, I know there's some great and glorious Jewish people. And there's some beautiful Palestinian people who are suffering. Now, a bit about intelligence, Naftali, and leaders of the IDF and Israel. You say you're getting intelligence. That means you have managed to penetrate, just as you did the Hamas leader, son, who has been well paid and now become your full-time agent and defender. Sometimes these guys they give you intelligence, they lie. We have seen recently someone in this, what was it, the CIA, a top intelligence network in the United States, admitted that he lied. Evidence was found that he lied. Well, why do they do these things? In order to get promotion and more money. So if you have someone like a Palestinian who is giving you information, and you're murdering school children and murdering men, women, and children, and then your soldiers are going in the hospital and raping the women, and going into their homes and wearing women's dress and dancing in public and destroying their stuff and their items, stealing their valuable lamps that might have been 14 or 1200 years old and taking it to Israel, stealing their money, their equipment, destroying everything. You got to remember, once you do things like this, the face of God will turn against you or me, any one of us. The face of God turned against Israel many times. And they were cursed by Yeshua or Jesus Christ. They were cursed by God. They went into enslavement. They lost their lands and their territories. Only the farmers, hardcore farmers who had to produce food all the time, from the Romans' time to the Assyrian time to all the time, those people remained, the food growers, the people of the land, and they needed them. And those people, when Islam came, accepted Islam and became Muslims. So the Palestinians, ladies and gentlemen, there might have been little penetration here and there by migration, but they're all Jews. My understanding, I don't know the truth of it, but my understanding is DNA has been banned so that the Palestinians cannot prove that they are Jews. Well, this is the reading information I got, and information I got by word of mouth from many there, that the Palestinians in reality are Jewish people who had converted to Islam. They were never Arabs, except maybe a few here and there. Just like how you had many Europeans who became Zionists by conversion and then faked themselves as Jews because they liked the religion. I want it to be understood that I'm a great lover of Jewish people. God spoke to them, God sent prophets to them, even though they tried to kill many of the prophets, including Moses, including Yeshua, Jesus, whom they put on the cross, and many others. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I am calling for goodwill and peace to prevail. I know my power, my words doesn't have any weight. But I have nothing against Israel. I want to visit Israel sooner or later. I want to visit the great Jewish ancient shrines. I want to visit the tomb of Yeshua, or Jesus. He was not an Englishman, so his name was never Jesus, his name was Yeshua. I want to visit the Islamic centers, the Temple on the Mount. I want to visit the Wailing Wall, where the Jews will go and pray, and I've made some Muslims to go and pray, and nobody is prevented from going there. I want to visit Israel. I respect Israel. I respect their skills and military prowess and military technology and inventions and inventiveness and so on. I know some Muslims or some might think I'm a self-hating Muslim by saying that. No, I'm not a self-hating Muslim. I'm a lover of all people. I'm an ambassador for peace. But sometimes when men talk like Ben Gvir, and you see what he wants to shoot all the Palestinians, maybe to steal their skins and their body organs, and then suffer them, beat them, and you're turning those people into tyrants, those soldiers who learn to enjoy the cruelty, just like the people who scourged Yeshua, aka in the English name Jesus Christ, and beat him till his flesh was piercing out, and turning into a pulp, and he was placed on the cross and brutalized and so on. They were special people for criminality, for cruelty. That is what you are creating. You know, this is in the raw, so things will happen. Don't arm them too much. They are going to turn against you in Israel sooner or later, and against the Jewish people, because they are not Jews. All I want is peace. Now, coming now to what was the aim before I started speaking, and I spoke for quite a while. I didn't expect to go there, but Israel strikes 5 schools in a week of massacres. Simply because of intelligence information, they would say. Well, I believe a lot of intelligence people who are giving them information are giving them false information too, because they want to get more money and more recognition that they're doing a good job. It would be easy for me to say that the people of Palestine and the Palestinians around the world need to start targeting. People would say that, and I don't want to start targeting those who are attacking them, whichever part of the world they may be. I don't believe in those kinds of things. This tit-for-tat thing will never end, Netanyahu or Naftali, and I'm not going to go public to suggest certain things. All I will suggest is peace and goodwill to prevail, love and harmony. These are same people. They have the same bloodline, Naftali. Hanaya, Naftali, they have the same bloodline. Ben Gvir, you are a Zionist, and you hate so much. I wonder if with your kind of hate and others, if you will do something to evoke and create another Hitler. You cannot turn worse than the Nazis. You cannot turn worse. You cannot train your children and dress them up to sing beautiful songs against the Palestinians or Gaza, as the Nazis did, dressing them, the little children, and singing against them. The exact thing you are doing, Ben Gvir and Netanyahu. Gosh, I wish, I actually respect Jewish people so much and love them and look up to them. I've worked with many of them in the United States. I I've enjoyed them. You know, Jewish people in the United States allow me to pray in a private sanctum of their offices when they know I was fasting for Ramadan. I have great respect and honor for Jewish people, except for those who are tyrannical in their action and their behavior. So let me read this article. Israel strikes 5 schools in a week. A Palestinian woman reacts after Israel military bombed the UN-run Abu Oriban school turned shelter July 14th. Al Jazeera. Israeli forces have attacked 5 separate schools in Gaza in just 8 days, killing dozens of people sheltering in them, according to Palestinian officials, medics and rescuers. Imagine targeting medical people too, targeting journalists. And when CNN is allowed in there and they're forced through conscience to report true, they are pressurized. The latest attack on Sunday struck the United Nations-run Abu Oriman school in the Nuseirat refugee camp, killing at least 17 people and injuring about 80. Most of the victims were women and children and Palestinian civil defense. Al Jazeera Hani Mahmoud reporting from Deir el-Balaz Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital, where some of these injured were brought, and he encountered severely burned women and children crying out in pain and agony on the floor. And remember, they don't have medications. The Zionists, few Jews, sadly, are blocking medications and drugs to come in. And if the medical kits have a scissors, or the first aid kit has a little scissors, they use that as an excuse to say it can't enter. They will empty everything out. This is the result of incinerating bombs, he said. The assault came after a deadliest strike hit tents near the entrance to Khan Yunis Al-Auda school on July 9th, killing at least 29 people. So what would happen if these people are to find ways to start targeting families, relatives, or similar kind people around the world? What will happen? Tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat. This needs to end. This needs to stop. And stop believing all of your intelligence. And you cannot kill innocent people because of what might be or might not be these, what you call terrorists. Some would refer to them as freedom fighters. 2 days before that, another strike on the church-run Holy Family School in Gaza City killed 4 people. So even the Christians, schools and churches, because they name Palestinians, all of whom were Jews in time past before they changed their religions, are under attack. They even attack the Christians. The bloodshed in Gaza schools turned shelters, which Israel accuses Hamas of fortifying, has been a recurring scene throughout the war. They always make excuses. Right? They just think, like Ben Gvir, there are many in the Israeli cabinet, the war cabinet, they love this blood. And it's a thing gone back historically where some of them would have been like this. Israel has repeatedly attacked civilian buildings after accusing Palestinian fighters of using them for military purposes, but it has provided no proof for its claims. Campaigners have accused Israel of disproportionate use of force against civilians in Gaza, more than 38,600 going to 48,000 people, most of them women and children, have been killed in the 9 months of relentless bombardment. Now, those children, especially boys and girls too, when they lose their parents or they get hurt and their minds get damaged, will they not want to go join Hamas for generations to come? That's why you're targeting children and women. What about those men and women who have lost their loved ones and their families? Will they not, and everything that they own, including destroying their homes, will they not want to take up arms against those people who are attacking them, if not now, in the future, even if peace is realized? This is a reality. Mr. Netanyahu, Hanaya, Ben-Gvir, and others. On Saturday, Israel struck al-Mawasi area, designated as a safe zone by them. Everywhere there's a safe zone, they pull people from the north into the south, cornered them so they can massacre them more, then said you gotta leave. No food, no drink, no nourishment, no medicine, no medical thing. People are giving birth raw. People have feet and children feet and eyes are taken out raw. And men like Ben-Gvir and maybe you, Hanaya, Naftali, enjoying all of this? Are you? Naftali, I see a spark of good in your heart, you know, Naftali. But you have to earn your keep. I see a spark of good. And whatever you're doing that is wrong, that is causing this massacre, pray in the corner for forgiveness, man. Killing at least, in a safe zone, killing at least 90 people and injuring 300 others. Killing at least 90 people. Massacres every day, everywhere in Gaza. And Palestinian ambassador to the UK, Hussam Zamlat, after the latest coup attack, this is the result of Israel's impunity and international inaction. Apparently, the international body seems to be afraid of Israel. And they've been put to punish more the UNWRA, UNRWA, that takes care of Palestinians, because one or two might be, it is alleged, might have done some wrong. But what about Israel and the Israeli cabinet? How many of them are not doing wrong? What about the IDF soldiers are not doing wrong? Yet they are referred to as the most moral army in the world. Since launching the war in October 7, Israel has hammered more than 400 schools in Gaza, which are among a few places displaced Palestinians can turn to for shelter, destroying 88% of all educational facilities, with the enclave's educational system decimated. That includes their university. They produce some outstanding doctors. But they want to turn them into like a despotic, desperate people. A people who will turn to inhumanity. But in the end, the people who are turning to inhumanity, unfortunately, are the Zionists. You, Hanaya, Naftali, Ben-Gvir, Netanyahu. My heart bleeds because I'm a great respecter and lover of the Jewish people and their blessings. I pray that by your own hands and work, you do not create another Nazi powerhouse. You will not create another one, because by our hands we create the good or the bad or the destruction of ourselves. Us. We have that ability to create by our thoughts, by our action, good or bad, for ourselves and our nation. There is little hope of enrollment for some 620,000 school-aged Palestinians who are out of school. So some people are trying in tents, in streets to teach. So if they can't do this, will they not try to turn soldiers to fight against, or freedom fighters against occupation? Will they not want vengeance? Will their mind not get damaged for generations to come? And then they will teach their children the hate, and the cycle of war continues. This is why I applaud Yitzhak Rabin, in the end, Yasser Arafat, President Clinton, and so on. Even Nixon, who eventually was sending his top diplomat to try to create peace. A June report by UN Human Rights Council, OHCHR, found that Israel's repeated attacks on civilian infrastructure, including schools, appear to be violating of international law. Civilian lives and infrastructure are protected under international humanitarian law, said OCHCR Chief Volker Turk. The law lays out the very clear obligations of parties to armed conflicts that make protection of civilians a priority. And then, if you are an occupying force, you are responsible for the well-being, the security, the education, the health of the people you occupy. Netanyahu and Naftali, Hanaya, Naftali. I still see some good in your heart, Naftali. Israel's choices of methods and means of conducting hostilities in Gaza since October 7, including through the extensive use of explosive weapons with wide area effects in densely populated areas, have failed to ensure that they effectively distinguish between civilians and fighters. And we must remember, the United Nations head, Secretary General, said the retaliation and behavior of the attack of Hamas did not happen in a vacuum. People are forced. Remember, Hamas was getting 100 million from Netanyahu and Israel to create trouble. And why did they change the venue? And why there were no soldiers near the fence or in the border area? When if somebody throw a rock, 4 jeeps appear within seconds. And they took hours, to respond. Hanaya. They wanted this war. They wanted the oceanfront lands and properties. They wanted to decimate the people, reduce them, and to steal their valuables, and to make it life hard for them. But in the long run, I believe they're making life hard for the Jewish people as well, the Israelites, the Israeli people. We don't want that. The Nakba took place, you came in, you murdered, you massacred people, you took away their lands. Netanyahu was saying it was, they were in sackcloths. They were like naked people, which is not true. They had their train station, they had their schools, their diplomatic staff. They had some of the best agriculture. Palestine was always known as one of the greatest exporter of fruits and vegetables. And historically, in January, the National Court of Justice said Israeli attacks in Gaza plausibly amounted to genocide. On top of wrecking most of Gaza's schools, Israeli attacks have destroyed 60% of the enclave's homes, 80% of the commercial shops, and 60% of its roads, and they've taken away the people money. They fake, it is alleged, people who are receiving money for donation and are doing money changes or cambios, their money are all taken away, turning all of these people into haters, vengeful haters. We want peace. Netanyahu and your cabinet, I am a Muslim. I don't wear this now. If you go into the electric mosque, Guyana, and all the electric mosque with another name in YouTube and Facebook, you will see I always wear this as a style. It gives me a nice feeling, like this here came directly from Mecca. And I consider Israel, particularly Jerusalem, as a holy land. And I respect Jews. I respect Jews so much. I have such great respect for them and care. But they were always fanatical Jews who wanted to kill the prophets, including Moses. and those who, the Sanhedrin by Caiaphas, who engineer the murder of Yeshua. But then thank God for well-meaning people like Joseph of Arimathea and the secret disciples, powerful people who were involved to save Yeshua. And some of us who know those things. His legs were not crushed. He was given an airy chamber with a rolling wheel. Alcohol was placed near the guards. They fell asleep, even though it is life to fall asleep while on guard duties. 100 pounds of herbs was placed. You know, 100 pounds of how many bags of herbs? What's herbs? Medication. And Yeshua was outside when Mary Magdalene going to see him in 3 days, when the body would have gone into rigor mortis. Why did the wheel have to move for him to come out if he was a spirit? Your friend, your brother, me. I want peace. Netanyahu, I want peace, Ben Gvir. In all of our hearts, you too, Ben Gvir, there is some good. There is a peace of God in you. Even if by your thoughts, Ben Gvir, you pull in the devil and inhumanity in you, there is a piece of goodness in you. Bring it forth. You too. Naphtali. You too, Netanyahu, and all. Let us work and pray for peace and goodwill and love for the Jews, for the Palestinians, and for Palestinians to gain back what they want. Remove the Zionists and let the people get their lands and compensate them for the destruction of the trees and the theft of animals and the innocent people that were shot. When these people, many of them who are sadly Americans, but they believe in the Zionist thing, deep fervor, many of South Africans, whites, who became Zionists, and other areas from Europe were going in there as Zionists to create mayhem and murder. I want peace and love and goodwill and joy for all. Your friend, your brother, me, Hajji, Dr. Roshan Khan, in the raw.
يا من هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر الخالق البارئ المصور الغفار